This is IBM Museum, and here's a video I haven't done in a while, and that's running the system information tool on this 8580 Type 3, which is a 386DX 25 megahertz. So let's get started with that. I'm going to go through and flip over to the video capture. I still do have this in the 4:3 aspect ratio. And of course, you don't see anything on the screen because it's got that screen blanker on this small lady. So let's go through. We just press a key and we get information on the screen. And this has gone through the boot process. I'm trying to remember what version of DOS. Well, certainly we can see within the system information tool as well. DOS 6.22. And it's already loaded the mouse driver as well. Now I've gone through and I've already copied over the latest patched version from Major Tom of that system information tool. And of course, the original, I'll provide links to all that, was initially a program from IBM that I found on diskette and just went through. We found bugs in it. Major Tom went through and patched it even a couple times, few times now. And so we're up to the so-called C version. And I'll give all the links to the where that program is. But I've already copied it over to a diskette and then put it on the SCSI hard drive, in this case, of the system. So we're going to go through and get over to that directory. I put it in. I just have the simple C version on that. And so let's go through and start. I do have my mouse within reach, although I doubt I'll just probably go through the keyboard shortcuts as well. And everything should be relatively visible. I don't believe that I'll have to change around any of the screen or anything like that for the way that I have things set up. So first off, and I can try and timestamp this later on, we're going to go through and look at the adapter information. Okay. And slots 1 through 7 show no adapter present. And certainly we just have the Tribble SCSI in the slot 8, the topmost slot. Okay. And that's the ID of 8EFE. That's an IBM PS2 SCSI adapter. IBM called it the Tribble, was the kind of the name. We see that mouse pointer. I'll try to go through to where that doesn't necessarily obscure anything. But it just shows information on the screen. I don't think there's any way to, there's no further information to page on this. Okay. And then disk information, hard disk by drive letters. Okay, logical drive installed, drive C, volume levels hard drive, drive size 1.47.98. That sounds close enough to 148 megabyte, bytes per sector, 512. And available space 137.5 megabyte, so still quite a bit of space on this drive. Okay, escape to back through. It presents information in different manners. And of course, it rounds up here, saying 148 megabyte. And there's the drive letters, just the C drive and the partition table. And we have those spurious kind of ghost entries, those 3 entries. I think this dialog box just shows 4 entries as a default and goes through and just shows unallocated partition, even though those things do not exist. We can go through and go deeper into partition 1. It is startable, it's bootable, gives the starting head, sector cylinder 110, of course, and the ending head sector cylinder 63 for the heads, the 32 for the sector, and 147 for the cylinder. And all these starting cylinders. And apparently this looks like MS-DOS 5 originally is what set this partition up on the system, even though it is now MS-DOS 6.22. I didn't do that. That's the way it came. Okay. So going through, just escaping back out, the diskette drives, we just have that 1.44 megabyte, and that's kind of my go-to drive since the hard drive, excuse me, the diskette drive that's in there didn't work. And we can try and experiment around, get that working in the later on, and to go through and even try the alternate modern versions that are able to go through and connect up a conventional 1.44 megabyte drive to a PS2. Okay, escaping back out to the keyboard information. Keyboard, of course, that I have in my hand. And it's 101/102 key keyboard supported. That's what I got here. Get typomatic rates supported. Set typomatic rate supported. And return to default typomatic rate supported. So all three of those functions. Memory information. And we do remember that we have the two 4 megabyte modules, and it recognizes those as the 4 megabyte 80 nanosecond parity modules, and total megabytes installed on system board 8 megabyte. Okay, memory values. And then I'll have to see if we can scroll. Doesn't look like we have the scroll bar to the right hand side, but all the information, and people can read that for themselves. They can pause if they need to as well. Okay, and memory mapping. And this does have the scroll. Okay. And memory map above 16 megabyte. Of course, we just have 8 megabyte here. But saying system ROMs, that in fact is the the system ROM and then the adapter ROM. And then system ROM is just both the E and the F segment. The Model 80 does have the A BIOS for OS2 and the C BIOS, the compatibility BIOS, or compatibility with older BIOS versions there. And that requires both the E and the F segment with all the stuff that they're doing. Adapter ROMs, that is going to be the ROM on the Tribble. That's the only adapter that's in there. And the system RAM, of course, between 0 and 640 KB. Okay. Miscellaneous technical information. Of course, this is typically where I read as well. The second interrupt chip is present. Real-time clock is present. Wait on external event is unsupported. Extended BIOS data area is allocated. System has a microchannel bus. DMA supports 24-bit address space. Keyboard functionality call supported. Return POS data call supported. Return memory map call supported. Enable/disable processor functions call supported. And this is a 386DX 25 megahertz, and it does have the 64 KB of cache that's on the planar. That's the reason that it does that. Of course, we have the blanking. If I don't go through and press the keyboard every so often. And continuing on, 8042 keyboard controller in system. Data streaming is unsupported. SCSI subsystem not present on the system board. It's present on the adapter. And information panel is non-solved. Of course, this is not an IML system. Initial microcode load. And SCSI support is not in the IML image. Of course, with the IML image not being present. So we go through, escape back, mouse information. Mouse present, PS2 type, mouse driver version, and that's a Logitech driver, 6.02. Operating system information, DOS version 6.22. MUL and processor information. So this machine name is the IBM PS2 MUL 80. Processor is the 80386. Speed in megahertz is 25. Coprocessor is none. External cache present, so it's that 64 KB cache that it's seen there. Model is F8, which is 386 SX and above for the purposes of IBM. And the BIOS submodel of 80, the BIOS revision of 02, which I believe is the only version for the Type 3 planar, and the BIOS ROM date of the 15th of February. I should have seen if the mouse would bring it back around too. The 15th of February, 1990, and the system board POS ID of FFF9. Okay. Parallel and serial port information, and just typically tells the numbers of ports, and we just have one of each. Number of parallel ports 1, number of serial ports 1 in this configuration, and those are on the planar. SCSI information, the SCSI controller adapter 0 slot 8. Okay. And there is information about the Tribble configuration. It is 5 megabits per second. And what IO port address in hexadecimal it's on, 3540 being the default. Okay. And this does not give the, I mean, I should go through and run the SCSI level on this as well. Although this is an early Tribble, and typically we just look at the microcode version ROM on the Tribble, and we could tell as well. But I think it's probably the 0F version for this. Like I say, for blanking, let's see. Nah, it just shows the mouse moving around. At least the artifact and that blue rectangle too. Okay. So the adapter is operational. I would hope so. Okay. And one SCSI device connected. And showing a SCSI fixed drive. 10 megabyte for some reason. And the physical, I think it's unit number. There's a physical unit number and logical unit number. Okay, fixed disk drive, scatter gather not supported. Cache buffer not enabled. IBM fixed disk drive. Adapter index 0 slot 8. Logical unit number of 0. Physical unit number, the PUN of 2. And that's the SCSI ID of 2. I made the comment that it was SCSI ID 2. And the Timeout being 60 seconds. Logical device number 0. Okay, and lastly, the video information. This is just plain vanilla VGA from the planer. System video information, video graphics array, VGA, monitor attached, color display attached. We're doing video capture here. And 256 KB VRAM, and it's an 80 by 25 characters, 16 color mode right now. So that is the system information tool of the Model 80 Type 3 that we have before us. And go ahead and I can go through. I'll just leave that up on the screen as I go through and do my outro, saying if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and click on that like button, please. And as always, subscribe to my channel if you have not done so already. Invite your friends that may be interested in this content to subscribe to me as well. But this is IBM Museum. That's all I have for now. Thank you.